Hey everyone, my name is Alana and I am the Bookcase Bandit. If that sounds familiar to you, that is because I run an Instagram page featuring all things bookish where I go under the same handle. I feel like it's sort of a natural progression to go from Instagram, I'm pointing like it's a physical thing, but it's everywhere because it's the internet, to BookTube, because I watch a lot of YouTube featuring bookish channels and things like that, and I love it, and I wanted to try and, contribute. So that is why we're here. Hopefully I get a lot better at this. For the moment, I am still quite nervous in front of this camera. I have to remember to look over here because you guys are here, but I keep on seeing my face, which is here, and it's sort of like distracting me, but I have to look over here. So this channel could be challenging for me, mainly because one, I am terrible, absolutely terrible at technology, and two, I am a bit of an introvert. So put an introvert in front of a camera, like, it sounds like a bad joke, but I'm here, I'm gonna give it a go. And yeah, a little bit about me. I am 24 years old and I'm from the Central Coast in New South Wales, Australia. I have just graduated uni where I studied a Bachelor of Arts with a double major. The first one being in English and writing, which is my passion. And then the second one in ancient history because I love stories, I love myth, I love all of that good stuff. And yeah, okay, because I am very, very new at this, I have not really yet sought out any tags or anything like that. So for today, as a little get to know me exercise, I have a cup. And in this cup, there are some questions. I'm going to basically just draw a question out, I'm going to answer it, you get to know me, and then I get to know you when you comment down below anything that I've talked about or anything that you want to suggest to me or books you want to recommend or anything like that. So without further ado, I have my trusty mug here. If you're interested, the quote on this mug is from one of my all-time favorite series, which is still currently being written. It is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon, which is this spine right here. The quote says, "Knowledge is dangerous. Once you know something, you can't get rid of it. You have to carry it always." And I love that because knowledge can be heavy at times, especially when we know how some of our favorite books end and other people don't, and they're reading them and you're just like, you're gonna get wrecked. So here we go, a couple of questions, let's kick this off. So the first one that I've pulled out says, a book everyone needs to read. For this one, I am going to go with The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. This is an incredible story set within World War II, which focuses on Nazi Germany and the things that unfold during that era. This is narrated by Death, which makes it quite an interesting read. I don't really like poetry at all, but sometimes the observations that Death makes in this, it's lyrical and it's beautiful and I love it. Don't get confused about that little sidetrack description. This book is a work of fiction. It is one of my all-time favorites, and the reason why everyone needs to read it is because it is eye-opening and it actually shows you how the German people were also oppressed within World War II and how books and the love of stories and escaping got one girl through the terrible, terrible time that was World War II. So in this one, we follow a young girl called Liesel, and she is an orphan who gets fostered out to a German family. She's also German herself. Then the family makes the decision to hide a young Jewish man in their basement, which is, of course, a very dangerous thing to do during World War II, and it just goes from there. And it is heart-wrenching, it's heartbreaking, it is beautiful, it's hopeful, it is everything you need, and you need to read it if you haven't already. Read this book. Okay, next question. What are you currently reading? Okay, well, as of me filming this, today I finished reading A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer, which looks like this. It's shiny. It's sparkly. This is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. Now, I think I've rated this 3.5 stars. It took a little bit for me to get invested in it. It's a really great book, don't get me wrong, but the YA aspect of this fantasy, it sort of meant that the two lead characters were a bit teenagery at times, a bit juvenile, very spiky, and very angry. And there's There's only so much I can take of that before it starts to sort of piss me off a little bit. But having said that, about halfway through this, I really started to dig it. The major conflicts started to pull together, everything was going down, and I really need the second book now, because this is not just a standalone. Like, I'm not sure if it's going to be a series or just a duology, but there's going to be more than one book. So this ends on a bit of a cliffhanger and I need the next one. So that's what I just finished reading, but that wasn't the question. The question was, what are you currently reading? So after finishing that today, I have picked up Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I am already 58 pages into this and I love it. My first book by Taylor Jenkins Reid that I read was actually last month, and that was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and that book absolutely broke me and I loved it for doing that. So I thought I would continue on with a little bit more from Taylor Jenkins Reid, because why not? This book is about a girl called Daisy Jones, obviously, and a band called The Six, and how they come together and how they are like dynamite pretty much, and then how it breaks apart and everyone remembers the story differently. And this is set out like sort of like an autobiography type thing, and it goes through and interviews all the different characters and gets everyone's side of the story. So I've heard good things about this and I'm excited to keep on reading it. Next question. A book from your childhood. Okay, so I grew up in Australia, obviously, and I feel like our children's books do it a little bit differently from if you say you grew up in England, where it is rainy and there are more fairies and that type of thing for children. We got swamps and outback and bush and that sort of thing. But we also got Maurice Gleitzman and Paul Jennings. These are some of the best Australian kids authors out there, along with also Andy Griffiths. I also read a lot of his books. This book is a bind-up of a lot of other ones. That's why it looks so thick. They're actually only about that thick each. The series is called Deadly, and it's basically about these two characters here and this thing that they're holding, and they accidentally take that, and then all these people around here need to try and get it back. It's got like fantasy elements to it. It's also got friendship and family and all the good stuff, and it was a lot of fun to read. Also, if you have been wondering what my shirt says, of course I had to rep a little bit of Harry Potter in my first ever video, because I, along with most of the world, loves Harry Potter, so there's also that. The next question is most anticipated release. I don't know why I'm holding this up. I've started, I'm gonna keep on going. Good luck if you can read my handwriting, because it's messy. But anyway, most anticipated release. I'm gonna go with the third book in the Nevernight trilogy by J. Kristoff. I love this book. I would say love the second book, God's Grave, and I'm sure I'm gonna absolutely love the third book when that comes out. I need more Mia in my life. I need more stabbiness in my life. Yeah, I need more J. Kristoff in my life. So next book, please. Dark Dawn, please, anytime. I know it's getting released later on this year, but I forget when. So I'm just gonna be happily surprised when that happens, and then probably hate my life while I try and hunt for an edition that matches these two, because we all know buying books online on some sites makes it really hard to buy the correct matching editions. But I'm going to give that a go. Also, if you haven't heard of Nevernight, this is a trilogy that follows a young girl called Mia and how she is on the path of revenge for the death of her father, and where that takes her. She trains to become an assassin and everything gets fucked up, and it is amazing. I'm gonna tell you what other people have told me when reading this book. Get to about 100 pages and then you'll be hooked. It is a little bit jarring to start off with because there are actually footnotes in these books. Let me show you. Okay, so footnotes, see here, and this is all footnotes too. And I know some people can't get into it because of the footnotes, but trust me, they end up being hilarious. They also help world build, and they just make this even better. So if you haven't picked up Nevernight, and if it's worrying you about the footnotes, just do it. It's going to be amazing. You'll love it. Trust me. How am I doing so far? I hope I'm doing okay. Oh. Also, I should mention I haven't yet got a microphone. I have my ring light. Of course, I have my shelves because I already had them, but I don't have a microphone. So I'm really hoping and praying that you can all hear me out there. Anyway, the next question is a character you don't understand the hype for. Now, I had to chuck a couple of salty ones in there because who doesn't like a little bit of a controversial thought? For this one, I'm going to throw it to the Darkling from the Shadow and Bone trilogy by Leigh Bardugo. I just want to start off by saying I absolutely love Leigh Bardugo. She is amazing. I have read all of her books. I plan to keep on reading all of her books. But the Darkling is an asshole. Plain and simple. I know in the fandom there is this huge thing where people love to romanticize the Darkling, but I never got on that train. I don't understand it. I'm not going to spoil anything, but if you've read all 3 books, you've got to at least sort of maybe understand where I'm coming from. I feel like there's the 2 different camps with the Darkling. You either love him or you hate him / understand him but still dislike him. I love morally grey characters, and I think I admire Bardugo for, creating him with that, but I just don't like him. So there's that. Next question is, what's your favourite genre? Now, if you can't tell by the stacks of books lining up behind me that I've already talked about, my favourite genre is fantasy. I love it. I love Imagine Worlds. I love something other than where we are right now. And I also love the creativity that comes with it and the myth and everything, okay? Fantasy is my jam. But aside from fantasy, I also read science fiction, contemporary, sometimes historical fiction, and I've just started to sort of read some thrillers. By that, I mean I've only read 2, but I'm trying. I'm trying to sort of widen my reading horizons a little bit, but I really love fantasy. So that's where my passion lies. The next question is, name an author you wish to meet. For this one, I'm going to throw it to Maggie Stiefvater or Stiefvater, however you pronounce it. She is an amazing author that has quite a lot of books published, so if you're just discovering her, don't worry, you have a lot more stuff to read. This is actually one of my favourite books of hers, I think. It follows a young girl who must enter the deadly Scorpio races because there are high stakes and all that sort of stuff. There are murderous seahorses, which might sound funny because you might think of like the cute little things that bob around, but they're actual horses that are like killers that come out of the sea, and you have to tame them and ride them and win the races with them. It's this whole thing. It's amazing. The main reason why I'd want to meet Maggie Stiefvater is I follow her on Instagram, and I know there's a wall between social media and real life, but she seems pretty cool. Like, she's an artist, she's also a writer, and she's funny and down to earth, and please come to Australia because I will be there. Even if it's just me, I'll be there holding your book like, yee! And we have one more question left. It is 3 books on my TBR. So, little funny story is I have about 17 or 18 books on my current TBR, and while I know some of you out there will say that's not quite so bad, there's people that have like full shelves of that shit happening. For me, that's quite bad, so we're going to try and cut that down to 10 before I'm allowed to buy any more books, but not sure if that's going to fucking happen. So, picking 3 books out of all of that wasn't too hard. So here are 3 books on my TBR. We have Someone Like Me by Emma Carey. We have Empress of All Seasons by Emiko Jean. I'm hoping that's how you say her name. And we also have Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. These 2 are fantasy, and this one's like a psychological thriller. And yeah, I'm excited to read them. They've been on my shelves for a little bit. I'm not the longest books on my shelf. I'm not gonna tell you what the longest book in my shelf is on this video. But yeah. Hopefully I read these soon. So that's going to be it for my first ever video. I have actually filmed this about 10 times already, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that. I've been trying to get better at presenting myself to the camera and all that sort of thing. I go unscripted at the moment just because I want to be natural. I want to be natural with you guys, and I'm going to be learning at the same time. So hopefully these videos pull together nicely. If not, bear with me, stick it out, because I will get better at this. But yeah, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Also, I'd love to hear from you. So if you've read any of these books, or if you have a book recommendation for me, drop it in the comments. And yeah, hopefully I will see you all next time. Bye!